Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I continue to bring you the story of CEO Hoai, and the truth behind his biological father's sudden return after so many years. Back then, there was a man who was supposed to stay with his family, to remain beside the woman he loved, and the child who was about to be born. But in the end, he chose to leave. He left in silence, without a clear promise, without any certainty for the future. He left Hoai's mother, Thoa, and also left behind the son, whom he had never even seen. That decision may have happened in just a moment, but its impact lasted for an entire lifetime of those who stayed behind. Years passed. Time did not stop. Everything changed. His life gradually moved in another direction. A new family was formed. A new life was built. Another son was raised in better conditions, with a home, with care, with everything that his first child also deserved to have. From the outside, that life may have seemed complete, stable, as if everything had fallen into place. But deep inside, it was not always like that. There are things that cannot be replaced. There are things that no matter how much you try, can never be erased. A void always existed, silently, invisible to others, but painfully clear within him. Something that had never been completed. A connection that had never been restored. A part of his life that he had missed. And as time went on, that feeling became clearer. Not a regret spoken aloud, but a quiet ache, present even in the most ordinary moments. Until one day, when everything seemed mature enough for him to face the past, he made a decision to return. Not to reclaim what was lost, not to change what had already happened, but to search, to find someone who had once been an important part of his life. Hoai's mother, Thoa, the woman who stayed while he left, and more than anything, to find the son whom he had never had the chance to call my child. A journey that sounds simple when spoken, but in reality was not easy at all, because too much time had passed. Old traces were no longer clear. People had changed. He had little information, no exact address, no certainty at all, only a few fragile clues. Yet they were all he had to hold on to. He had to rely on detectives, following every small detail, every scattered piece of information, every trace that seemed almost meaningless, all gathered together for one single purpose: to find them. Among so many uncertainties, there was only one piece of information, enough for him to believe. Hoai's mother, Thoa, had given birth to a son, born in 1990. That was all. Nothing more. Nothing specific. But to him, that was enough. Enough to believe that that child was his son. A belief not built on solid evidence, but born from genuine emotion, from a memory he had never forgotten. Meanwhile, in a completely different place, life continued in its own way. Hoai was living his own life. A life built from what he had. From effort. From determination. From the years he had to grow up on his own. Without the presence of a father. He did not know that somewhere there was a man quietly searching for him. He did not know that those footsteps were slowly getting closer to his life. He did not know that the past he thought had been closed was beginning to open once again. Two people, two destinies, who were once so close from the very beginning, yet were separated, not by distance, but by a decision made long ago. One chose to leave, one stayed, and the child grew up in the absence of a father. Old memories seemed to have been asleep, but now were slowly returning. Clearer, more vivid. Back then, when Hai's mother, Thoa, discovered she was pregnant, it was not an easy time. The man beside her had just been admitted to university. In front of him was a wide-open future. Opportunities. New paths. Things anyone would want to grasp. But at the same time, an unexpected responsibility appeared. Without warning. Without preparation. Without giving him much time to think. Between two choices. One side was the future. The other was responsibility. He chose to leave. A decision that may have helped him move forward, but left behind consequences that could never be erased. As for Hai's mother, Thoa, she did not run away, did not avoid it, did not give up. She chose to stay, to face everything, to give birth to the child, and to raise him alone, with no one beside her, no support, only resilience, and a love strong enough to keep her from letting go. Years passed. What had happened did not disappear. It was only stored away in a quiet corner, inside an old box, placed somewhere no one would notice. When that box was opened, every memory came back to life. Photos of Hai as a child, still intact, carefully preserved, not faded, not forgotten. From his first days entering school, to simple yet meaningful moments, to the days the two of them left their hometown and moved somewhere new to start over. Everything was kept as proof that no matter how much time passes, no matter how life changes, what belongs to the past still exists, never truly lost, just waiting for the day to be remembered again. And perhaps this very moment is when everything begins to return, when the paths that once separated are slowly showing signs of crossing again. A meeting that could change everything, or perhaps just the beginning of a chain of events that no one can predict. As for Hai's biological father, the journey of searching that he began with fragile clues. Now, the further he goes, the more he feels that he is getting very close. No longer distant assumptions, no longer scattered traces, but something clearer, even if it still cannot be named. He continues to follow every small piece of information, every fragment that seems unrelated, yet when placed together, they gradually form a direction. And then, in moments even he did not expect. He met Hai. Not in any special circumstance. Not in a situation arranged beforehand. But through very ordinary encounters. At a cafe. Where strangers sit next to each other. Sharing the same space. Yet knowing nothing about one another. Or on a journey. Where people pass through each other's lives. Only for a brief moment. Then continue on their own paths. They sat close to each other. They saw each other. They spoke to each other. Simple conversations. Nothing deep. Nothing extraordinary. Just ordinary exchanges. Between two strangers. Neither of them knew that the distance between them was not unfamiliarity, but a connection that had existed for a very long time. He knew, if what he believed was true, if the person he had accidentally met was indeed Hai, then everything would never be the same again. And so, he chose to wait. Not a passive waiting, but waiting with preparation. Waiting with observation. Waiting until every piece falls into its rightful place. Waiting until he can be certain that the son from long ago, whom he had never met, is the very person standing close to him, yet still without a name for their relationship. And perhaps, just one more step, just one more detail, everything will become clear. The truth will no longer remain in speculation, but will appear clearly, impossible to deny. And when that moment comes, no one can predict what will change. Only that seemingly ordinary encounter is gradually becoming a turning point for two people who once belonged to the same family, but lost each other for an entire lifetime. But what if, when everything that has been hidden slowly comes to light, when the scattered pieces of the past begin to form a complete truth, what will happen? A truth. No longer a doubt. No longer a fleeting intuition. But something undeniable. A truth that could change how both of them see their own lives. For Hai, that truth is not simply about knowing who his father is, but about facing a part of his past that he never had the chance to choose. A past marked by absence, by the years of growing up without a father's presence, by the emptiness that nothing could ever truly fill. When the truth is revealed, will he be able to accept it calmly? Or will the memories once buried rise up all at once? Will he be able to look at that man as a father, or only as a stranger who came too late into his life? Because there are things that knowing them doesn't mean accepting them. That meeting again doesn't mean everything can be treated as if nothing ever happened. Time can soften many things, but there are wounds that are not easily erased, especially when they are tied to the years of growing up, to the absence that no one could replace. And then, the question is not only for Hai, but also for that man. The one who once chose to leave. The one who left behind a woman and an unborn child. Will he have the courage to face his son's eyes? Will he have the patience to accept any reaction, whether it is silence or rejection? Because Not every return brings forgiveness. Not every attempt to fix things leads to healing. Between them, there is not only the distance of time, but also the distance of choices. Choices that once made them two parallel lines. And now, as those lines begin to show signs of crossing, will it be a beginning? Or the end of something? Will Hai open his heart? Accept that man, even though the past was far from whole? Or will he choose to turn away, the same way that man once did to him and his mother years ago? A confrontation that may carry many emotions. It could be heavy silence. It could be unanswered questions. It could be things never spoken, yet existing for so many years. And that fateful meeting is not just two people standing before each other, but a confrontation between past and present, between what has happened and what never had the chance to happen, between regret and pain. Will it become a moment of healing? A chance to start again, even if it comes late? Or will it only reopen old wounds, once again widening the distance even further? No one can know in advance, because the answer does not lie in time, but in how each person chooses to face the truth. And that very moment will decide everything. Stay tuned for the next part of the story to find out whether that meeting will bring healing or open a new chapter filled with pain. And don't forget to share your thoughts.
Chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại với lại kênh của mình. Sau một thời gian thì mình đã quay trở lại để tiếp tục kể những câu chuyện về những người mẹ đơn thân và cùng lắng nghe những câu chuyện của mình nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay của mình. Hy vọng rằng mọi người sẽ yêu thích những câu chuyện mà mình chia sẻ và yêu thích những nhân vật trong câu chuyện của mình. Hiện tại thì những video của mình đang được phát hành vào khung giờ 7 giờ tối và 7 giờ sáng tại Việt Nam. Nếu mà mọi người yêu thích thì nhớ like, share, bật chuông thông báo để nhận thông báo khi mình đăng video mới nhất, cũng như ủng hộ kênh giúp mình và chia sẻ kênh của mình đến cho bạn bè để mọi người cùng biết đến. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video tiếp theo của mình. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người nha.